Hi there, this is Steve. I'm trying to I'll do a little video on what I'm trying to do. Basically, this is for day traders, and these are the five charts for the different markets that are out there for trademark stock market. This particular one happens to be the Nasdaq, but I'm sure you've heard of crude oil and cotton and sugar and cocoa beans and the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones, all that. So in any event, this is just a little snapshot of the of charts. It's the same market, but it's I'm just changing my arrow. Okay, it's the same market, just different time frames. So this one over here is a lot bigger time frame than this one and this one, and this is the smallest time frame. And and on here is just a bunch of moving averages. Pretty much they're just grading how far they go and how far they move, and moving averages. And so these right here, let's say for instance, this is moving average one. This is a group one. It's a chart one, but I just call it groups. So group one, group two, three, four, and five. So there's our five groups. So on this one here, group one, line one is going to be, we call it our trigger line one. This is trigger line two. And then the bigger one is going to be the first fastest moving line is it's going to be this one here. So that would be large trigger or LT moving average or LTMA one. And then number two is right here. And all these are, EMA 2, EMA 1 is here, EMA 2, EMA, they're all over the place. Basically, so what I've done is I record this data. So enough said on that. So it's a recorder. So when I have that information, it comes in like this. These are all CVS files. Now you notice that some are bigger than others, and that's because every time I turn it off and turn it back on again, it creates a new file. And additionally, if it just keeps running, it will create a new file on its own, kind of like a part two kind of thing. And it just pulls up this, this number, just the serial number, so it's unique. But needless to say, as you can see the size that, when it gets up to a max size, then it'll just automatically start another one. So what I'm trying to do is, let me pull up a small one here, to get this one. This data comes in like this, and let's freeze that top row. It's a CVS file, and it's got all the way to BZ. Now, one of the concerns that I do have some 5 rows in here for future business, but when I'm doing the formulas, I have found in the past that when you say, take BL and add it to BR, well, if something gets added in here, and now I have a new future 3.5, that column is no longer the same column. So therefore, I want to be able to search for the column header names. And that's kind of important because those don't change. And if they did change, we can go in there and just change the one thing. But more importantly is when I'm looking at a formula, I don't have to figure out what is BI or, BP. And then I have to go constantly cross-referencing. So I'd rather just say, with the formula, take this and multiply it by, current price or whatever the name of that. I just knew this is over here. So instead of saying BH multiplied by BT, it would just say this times that. So that's kind of where I want to go with that. So that's one thing. But in any event, so this all comes here. So now what I've done is this formula comes in or this data comes in all the time. So what I've done is I've made another I got it right here. I called it 1 and 2. I just call it analytics. Sounds pretty cool. And so what I've done is I've hidden rows E through Q, BQ. So I've hid all those because I don't need to see them. It's just all this miscellaneous data that down here. All I've cared about is, the chart, and actually I probably don't even need that, but date, time, and, these few things here until I get to, B, Well, that's interesting. CA. That's off. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. I pull up an old file that has different files, so that's why this is the most newest. So there's my BZ right there. So continuing. So there's BZ. And so what I've done is I've made these rows, and I've made my formulas based on, whatever they are right now, and then we'll get more into that later. So what I have to do now is come over to here, go down, copies columns 1 and 2, copy them, come over to here, paste it, then go to the columns, go to the end, and zip it down. And then I could actually convert it. This is how I do it, unless there's another way. And then I just do paste. So basically it becomes no longer a formula, but just data. So there's no point in having all that formula calculated all the time, obviously. So that's where I'm at with this. So and then basically stop at that point. So what I'm trying to do is avoid all that manual stuff, because you can see there's a lot of files that I have to do that to. So what I'd like to be able to do is have a little macro that does exactly what I just did. And that's a little over my head. So I want to just be able to start with that. And then from there, going forward, maybe a phase 2 or something, what I would ultimately like to do is be able to marry these together. So I can come in there and say, maybe go into this file, keep this as my dashboard file, and I would come into here and I would say get files. I know that's in here somewhere. Insert pivot tables, or is it recommend? Maybe it's pivot tables. Let's try that. I don't know, whatever. I don't know where I'm going. So anyway, you go in there and you say, give me this file, this file, this file, this file, this file, and this file, and then do exactly what we did before and get the stats on that. That maybe come at a later date, but at least right now, if I can get the one file, if I could just click a button and basically have that zip down, or if it's easier, just to create a new, have the macro create a new sheet called dashboard, and then so there would be all my data, business as is, untouched, and then this one here would be my columns of whatever we said these are up here, and maybe just dump them in this way. So copy and then paste them here. Now that would kind of be a okay, whatever. So apparently I can't do it, but that would be a better preferred way. Actually, I would want to have a few columns in there left. So let me get out of here. Oh, this is getting too crazy. I would like to see these first rows that I talked about here at the beginning. So we'd probably want to start at a different column. But in any event, we could talk about that further. That's ultimately what I'd like to do. Then at another date, as time goes on, once that's all done, then I would like to be able to make a bunch more formulas. This is just the beginning. I put a couple here for future. I've done some. All they are is just taking different types of data. So what I would like to do, to be able to do, is say, I would like to be able to measure the distance from this one, which is, let's say, let's use this one. Let's say this is G1 STMA1. That's what this one's called, okay, in the data field. So I could say, give me this one here, the data for this one, and what is the difference, the distance between this one here, which is G5, LTMA2, and then have that calculate down, and then gives me information. Then once I get all kinds of formulas in here, then later on down the road is I want to be able to take the data and be able to come up with the score. So right now I have a score in here. We'll get to it later. Maybe I'm going ahead of myself. But needless to say, with this score, I want to be able to take weighted things and do things with it. You know what? I want to stop right there. It's getting ahead of myself, and I don't want to make this any longer than it already is. So anyway, that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm looking for. Thanks.